My female 22, fiance, male 27, cheated on me with his coworker twice and still wants me to forgive him. My fiance have been together off and on for 10 years. We have a nearly 4-year-old together. We both don't have much family, although he has more than I do, and we've both done crappy things to each other in our earlier years because of a plethora of undiagnosed mental illnesses as well as just being young and stupid. He has been a huge support in my mental health journey. All that being said, in June 2022, I went through his phone after being suspicious for months and found photos of him and his coworker, female 20, in bed together shirtless, as well as messages about him working hard to try to come home to this coworker. I had originally told him to stand up for her as he'd been telling me about the manager who was being sexually explicit towards her. I said that him being the assistant manager meant that protecting her was his responsibility. In the end, because I trusted him, he preached all about loyalty. I let him go to her house after work hours to discuss the investigation. I now know this was a lie. I made him fess up to his work. I told him I was done, but he begged and said that he just didn't mean to let it get that far and that he didn't know what to do about it. I told him I'd give it one more chance for our son, male 3, but if I caught him again I'd be done. They both lost their jobs in the end. It took a few weeks, but he found another one. I caught him again a few weeks ago. I didn't even have to do anything. I had been suspicious the whole time but had nothing concrete until the coworker texted me with the classic "Hey girl" and asked for my side. I sent her the photos I still had of his phone and what I found, which included chats with 2 other girls that were more surface level but was still sexting. Right as I received the initial "Hey girl," I also received a text asking if I was okay from him. I found out later this was because he had just noticed she hadn't added his Snapchat. I had a friend over at the time, so once they left I calmly got fiance in the car to go and get hot chocolate and immediately demanded his phone in the car. He refused to hand it over. We spent hours in the car, and in the end the only place we stopped was an ATM that he got out for. He claimed that he had tried to cut it off, but that she had threatened to kill herself and that he didn't know what to do. He tried to throw it at me asking if I had ever had to experience something like that, and when I explained that I had, with him, I broke up with him at one point and he threatened to kill himself if I didn't talk to him, and then he actually did follow through with an attempt, and that I ultimately had to come to terms with the fact that that was not my fault either. He didn't know what to say. The coworker blocked my phone number during this time once I asked for her side. He wanted me to wait until we got home and were in a safe space before I went through his phone. I jumped out of the moving car once while in an episode and he used this as his reasoning. However, it magically disappeared by the time we got home. He then accused me of taking it and hiding it, which I did not do. I kept things peaceful. We rent a house with my brother and his friend, and I also don't want to put our child through trauma as much as I can avoid it. I have been thinking through what I want to do and I think I need to make a clean break. But since losing his phone I organized him a new phone and SIM card, and then I also bought 2 prepaid SIM cards. When I called his phone from my phone it kept going to voicemail from the moment it went missing. When I rang it from my new SIMs, it rang through. So I texted the coworker from one of my new SIMs and asked for her side, sent more photos I had found and tried to offer sympathy, but I haven't had a response, and that was a week ago. My mental health began to decline, and he understood his position with me and that I was struggling to get past all that had happened, so he had the idea of going on a holiday. I thought I would give it one more shot to see if my feelings would come back, and as much as it was an okay time, I felt nothing. We left the kiddo with his granddad and headed to camp near the beach for 2 nights. I was naive at the start of the trip, thinking he understood that this wouldn't be changing anything practical, but after the trip I now see he was trying to get me to fall back into honeymoon phase. Now it's New Year's Day, he's gone back to work, and I think I need to break up with him. But he insists we can work through this.
Divorce finalized after my 42 male wife, 38 female, cheated multiple times. This has been a long, heartbreaking, emasculated process. I married my wife 5 years ago. It hadn't been smooth sailing up to that point, though. We dated on and off for about 4 years. She had addiction problems which lead to infidelity on a few occasions. Once I caught her upstairs at a party in the act. I was so embarrassed I just left. She begged for another chance. I loved her and knew she wasn't herself. She got into a program and got sober. Things were beautiful. Our relationship was strong and we got married. First year of our marriage was perfect. Second year, not so much. A lot of bickering, but nothing I didn't think we could work through. Third year is when things got bad. She got drunk and cheated on me with a friend of mine. Obviously, this hurt me deeply, but she begged for forgiveness. I knew she had been drinking and convinced myself that's the only reason it happened. I wanted my marriage to work. So I forgave her under the condition that she wouldn't touch alcohol. Things went well for a bit, but I began to hear rumors at work. We worked at the same company. I don't like to pay attention to rumors, but given our history, it ate at me. Was never specific, but just people talking and alluding to things you know. I questioned her. She denied everything. We had arguments, but I thought maybe I'm getting worked up for nothing. Figured it wasn't fair to get on her about she said. Then one Friday, I was going into work. She had the day off. I was gone a couple hours, but ended up getting sent home early. I get home, and there's a random truck in our driveway. I go inside, and I know what I hear, but I'm in disbelief. Thumping, squeaky, and moaning. Saying that my heart sank is an understatement. I walk towards the bedroom. The door's open, and I see her having sex with our supervisor. I think my heart stopped. I left. I had to because I didn't want to do what I thought about doing. I drove with no destination. Finally pulled over and cried my eyes out. I felt stupid for not leaving before. I felt like a pushover. I felt emasculated. I felt like less than a man for not doing something in the moment. I drove back home, but they were both gone. I broke things, screamed, cried, and sat on the floor. She comes home with her friend and asks what the hell happened. I just started screaming at her. I was out of my mind. Eventually they left. She came back the next morning. Didn't speak all weekend, and then I went back to work Monday. As soon as I saw the supervisor, I made a beeline for him and connected a few times before it got separated. I screamed and looked crazy, I'm sure. Obviously I was fired, but thankfully no charges were filed. I filed for divorce that week, which she didn't contest. Obviously the process takes a bit regardless. Problem was we were still living together. I just avoided as much as I could. I was going to stay with my uncle, which I got strung along with that, and it never happened. Had no one else I could stay with at that point, so had to still be there while trying to save up. At this point, my wife didn't give a damn. She didn't even hide that she was seeing other people, even sneaking men into the house late at night. Had to hear things more than once. I didn't want to go to jail for doing something stupid, but did want to see if there was anything I could do legally, which I was advised that there wasn't. So she's have her good times while I'm living in misery. But finally, I got my own spot. I moved out without a word. Divorce has been finalized. Splitting belongings was simple. I'm happy that it's done, but I'd be lying if I said I felt like myself. I'm colder. I'm negative. I'm just not me. I know it takes time to get through this. I know it was smart of me to just leave the house when I caught them, but that decision also eats at me. Yes, I know I should have ended things earlier. It's easy to say that on hindsight. We all wanted our relationships to work, and some of us took more than others. I just wanted to get this off my chest. Just needed to vent. Sorry if this post might be all over the place.